Today we're going to talk about the signs that your ex-boyfriend is never coming back. Essentially, we're going to be looking at the non-negotiables. So usually whenever I do a video like this, it's signs that your ex will probably never come back, or signs that they're really not going to come back, but there might be a slim sliver of a chance. But I figured, why not go to the extreme end of things and actually start talking about the non-negotiable signs that you pretty much need to give up on getting your ex back. But if you want to skip this video and just cut right to the chase and get an idea of if you should be trying to get your ex back or not, probably the best place to start is on our website, www.exboyfriendrecovery.com, and take my Ex Recovery Chances quiz. It's a simple, free, 2-minute quiz designed to basically tell you what kind of chance you have of getting your ex back. Now, all you have to do if you want to take the quiz is simply look in the description link below this YouTube video and click on it. It's pretty simple. All right, so non-negotiable signs that your ex basically will never come back to you. This is a really interesting question and a little bit more difficult to answer than I originally thought when I was planning this video out, because you see, one really interesting trend I've noticed over the years since I've been doing this for almost a decade is how often exes will say that they're never, ever coming back, and then a few years come by and they reach out to you trying to rekindle things. So technically speaking, a lot of the signs that initially seem like you're not going to be getting your ex back might not be entirely true. So we want to go to the extreme end of the spectrum and truly look at what signs are going to look like if your ex is never ever coming back. And I'm even going to amend that a little bit and talk about signs that you shouldn't take your ex back. But let's actually dig in deep into why exes just all of a sudden want to come back years later. So one of the things that I'm really intrigued by is people's regrets at the end of their life, because I think this is a perfect litmus test to the mindset of someone who maybe has regrets about a breakup. So I went searching about what some of the biggest regrets are in life from people who are just about to die. And they basically talk to people and say, this is what I regret, or this is the advice I would give you in your life since you're still a young person. And what was pretty clear is 3 main regrets came up. The first regret is pretty obvious. They didn't pursue their dreams. The second regret is they felt that they worked too hard. But it's that third regret where we really start to see the applications to what we're talking about, is they regret not expressing their feelings to the one that they love. So if you're sitting there and wondering why an ex would all of a sudden years later come back and express their feelings to you, regret is the foundation upon which that is built. And usually speaking, people who do this aren't as stubborn as people who don't do this. So you kind of feel like it's coming from a place of actual reminiscence. But that's actually not what we're going to be looking at today. What we're looking for is non-negotiable signs that your ex will never come back to you, or even a few signs that you should never get back with an ex. Sign number 1, your ex is happily married to someone else. Now, at this point, I feel like it should be obvious that if your ex is married to someone else, stop trying to get them back. It's over. But really, that's not a technical non-negotiable, because I can't tell you how often ex-boyfriends are douchebags and cheat on their wives. What we're really looking for are non-negotiables. So I want you to keep a specific eye on the phrasing I use with this sign. Notice how I said happily married. If your ex is happily married, from all accounts, it's over. Stop trying to get them back. In fact, I always tell my clients, look, I'm gonna give you your money back because you shouldn't be trying to get back an ex who's married at all. Not only are there moral implications kind of gross, but it's just not a good look on your frame of mind. Because oftentimes, more than one person is going to get hurt if you actually do succeed. You will be breaking up a family, sometime with kids, and just trust me, it's not a good look or something that you should even be interested in doing. So, like I said, this should be one of the most obvious signs that things are over. But I feel it's important to mention because so many people just disregard it, unfortunately. But let's move on to sign number 2. Sign number 2, your ex literally walked in on you cheating on them. So, cheating, unfortunately, is one of the big things that we see throughout our website. It's a huge reason people break up. Not usually the only reason they break up, but it's a contributing factor. Personally speaking, I think it's one of the most difficult situations to be in, but we have had some success in that particular situation. What I will say is we have never had success if your ex has physically witnessed you cheating on them. Now, we can get into the psychology of why that is, but ultimately I think it's pretty simple. There's a difference between learning that someone cheated on you and actually seeing it with your face. It's almost more potent if you do see it with your face. And then we add in an extra layer of complexity when you look at the differences between why men and women cheat. So what's interesting is that men who often cheat on you can still be vastly in love with you. It's this really odd paradox if you think about it. Yet women oftentimes who cheat on men are usually checked out of the relationship entirely, and it really kind of boils down to a communication issue. When you look at how men deal with sex, they often deal with sex as a way to release stress. But that's different from how women view sex. Women view sex in this very emotional and almost sort of like, they need to look nice, they need to feel nice, the mood needs to be right kind of a way. Whereas men, maybe they go off and they have a really hard day at work and they come home and they're just thinking, I need to just de-stress. And so they make an approach to the woman, and the woman just has no interest whatsoever in that because she's just not in the right frame of mind. And this is where a disconnect can happen because the woman will often think that's all that he wants me for. Yet there's a communication error because no one side is communicating their thoughts clearly to the other side. And this can actually be a huge indicator into why relationships decline, especially when they've been together for a long time. But we're kind of getting off topic here. The truth is that if you cheated on your ex, most of the time you're going to be kind of checked out of the relationship to begin with, and it's probably not going to behoove you to even want to get them back. But if you are in that rare circumstance, because there are always outliers, where you essentially have had an ex walk in on you cheating with some guy and you still want them back, I'm telling you, the chances are so low, I have never seen it happen. Now, I do want to point out here that this is different from your ex finding out that you cheated on them. This is actually them witnessing the act. So if you are in a situation where you made a mistake and you cheated on your ex, but they didn't actually witness it, there is some hope, but I will say that hope is a lot smaller than the average standard breakup because guess what? That's just a difficult foundation of trust to rebuild. And oftentimes, in order to rebuild it, it takes years and years and a willing participant to go to couples therapy. And oftentimes, you have to be willing to bear the brunt of that. And some people just aren't willing to do that. Sign number 3, your ex won't respond to anything you reach out to them with. In order to win an ex back, or at least get back into a friendship with someone, you need to communicate with them. And if you're reaching out with the best text messages you can think of and they're not responding at all, it doesn't really matter if you've been blocked or not been blocked. What matters is if they respond or not. Oftentimes, people who do this are really checked out and you don't have a chance because guess what? There's no way you can get someone back without first communicating with them in some way, shape, or form. So let's say a few months have gone by in your breakup and you've done a no contact rule and you've reached out to them multiple times only to get no response. So you try your hand at maybe sending an email or sending a Facebook message on Facebook Messenger or an Instagram DM or Snapchatting them any way you can think of to get their attention, yet they haven't responded. And months go by, you let them have some more time and you try again. You reach out again in all the same ways, shapes, or forms. This time maybe you even try to call them and you leave a voicemail, yet nothing has happened. And in some cases, let's say your ex has blocked you and you can't get in touch with them at all. It just seems impossible. And let's say 3 or 4 months go by and they haven't unblocked you, it's a pretty good bet that they have moved on. Most of the time, if an ex blocks you, we have found that they do unblock you in some way, shape, or form, or leave an area where they can actually get some type of communication from you open. For example, let's say an ex blocks you through text message, but you're still friends on Facebook and you could still chat through Facebook Messenger. Well, people who do a full-out block, that means block you in every way imaginable and do not unblock you within 4 to 6 months, it's not a great sign. It's a sign that they've just decided to drop everything and move on. Sign number 4, they are unbelievably cruel when they do respond to you. So where sign number 3 was all about this end of the spectrum, sign number 4 is all about this end of the spectrum. Recently in our private Facebook support group, something kind of unique happened, and I mean unique in a bad way. We had a client who basically reached out to her ex, and her ex responded by basically posting a photo of him and another girl, and I'll let you imagine the photo. It was unbelievably cruel, it was unbelievably petty, and it's a sign that this particular client should not ever try to win someone back like this. You see, people who respond in cruel ways with an intent to actually be malicious with their texts do not deserve your time. It has become a huge pet peeve of mine when I'll be working with someone and I can just see them give all of their power to this significant other, this ex-significant other who doesn't deserve it. If you send a text message to an ex, it's okay for them to respond neutrally. It's even okay for them to respond negatively, like, why are you talking to me? But what's not okay is for them to respond of them making up with some other girl, or going to a strip club, or doing something that is so manipulative and so cruel, their sole desire is to hurt you. This is a perfect indication that the person you're trying to get back is not only not worth getting back, but you should run for the hills completely from someone like this. Yet the problem will continue to persist because guess what? People who want their exes back rarely change their mind about wanting to get their exes back. That's why we have them go through a no contact period and basically get them into this mindset where they feel like they're moving on without moving on, because only then do we find it puts you in the driver's seat with trying to get that ex back. But some exes are just unbelievably cruel, and sometimes it's worth walking away because they're not going to treat you any differently when they do get into a relationship with you if you are lucky enough to get them back. They will manipulate you, they will use you. And a perfect segue into sign number 5, they can abuse you. Sign number 5, you are being abused either physically or emotionally. This one is really difficult to deal with because it has happened. We have seen it occur. Domestic violence rates have been going up since this pandemic, and it's just an unfortunate circumstance. And I think when you're dealing with someone who's being abused physically or emotionally, there's a coping mechanism that kind of goes on. They sort of run away from the problem, or they cower and just try to compartmentalize the problem in a way so that they're not thinking about it. But what I really do think happens more often than not is not really the physical abuse, though we have seen that happen in our practice. It's the emotional abuse. If your ex is emotionally abusing you, or when you actually think back on your relationship with a clear set of eyes and you notice that they have been emotionally abusive to you, it's a good sign that you just need to walk away. And it can be one of the hardest things to do because, like I said, most people who want to get their exes back, it's hard to get them to change their minds to do that. But my whole point is, most of the time, change can occur, but only in the short term, especially with someone who has these abusive physical or emotional tendencies. Okay, so let's just play devil's advocate. Let's say you do get your ex back and they agree that they are going to change their ways. No more of that emotional abuse. So you get back with them. Things are great at first. Everything seems like you've turned over a new leaf, but slowly but surely as the months wear on, you start to notice little bits of their small, old, really bad habits are creeping back into the relationship, and bit by bit by bit, you start to notice they're getting abusive again. They're being cruel again. They're acting and treating you in a way that is not deserved of you. This has been my experience with most people. Change is a very hard thing to happen. I think human beings have the ability for change, and that's what makes us greater than probably anything. We can look at a problem and change our way of approaching that problem. Yet when it comes to something that is so embedded into our personality, change does not come easy. In fact, in my personal experience, I've only experienced personality type changes in life-changing events. Now, a breakup can be kind of a trauma in a way, but it is usually not a life-threatening or life-changing event that will cause you to have an epiphany and look at things in a new way. But what will happen is they'll promise you that they'll be better. They'll get back with you, and they will be better at first, but slowly but surely they will get back to their abusive tendencies, and you are just right back where you started. So in my opinion, never get back with these type of people. Grade with the hardest scale you can possibly grade with when you are actually looking back at your relationship and the breakup and determining whether or not you should be getting this person back. That's it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no wiggle room. Grade, like I said, with the hardest scale, and do not allow yourself to be abused, even if it's just small and emotional. Hey there, thanks for getting to the end of this video. Now, like I said, if you haven't already taken my X Recovery Chances quiz that I talked about at the very beginning of this video, all you have to do if you want to take it is simply look in the description link below this YouTube video and click on it. That's pretty much it. Again, if you haven't liked, commented, or subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do that. I love to hear your comments. I love to see how these videos are resonating with people, what I can improve on, what I can do better, and those comments are pretty much the only way I can find that out. I'll see you next time.